Today I'm hiking the Cranberry Lake 50 trail in the Adirondacks. I've just arrived at the trailhead and I am getting signed in and just taking a quick look at the map before I begin. The Cranberry Lake 50 trail is a 50-mile hiking trail that goes around the perimeter of Cranberry Lake, and this is just an overall map here, and I am starting right here at this trailhead. That's where I am currently. This is the Peavine Swamp trailhead, and I am gonna choose to hike this loop in a clockwise direction. So I'm gonna start out by heading north and then coming around over the next couple days. But it's about 8 o'clock now, so I'm gonna go ahead and get on the trail because we've got a lot of miles to cover. I have made it to the intersection with the Cranberry Lake 50 trail. It's just about a quick quarter-mile hike on this Peavine Swamp trail from the trailhead until you reach the intersection with the Cranberry 50. So now we start counting down these 50 miles, and I am officially on the Cranberry 50. The weather for this trip is supposed to be about perfect. Everything had a frost this morning and it was right around 30 degrees. But the frost is already starting to melt, and the high is right around 50 degrees today and for the next 2 days following. There is potential for rain, but I think it's a less than 50% chance, so we'll see. And even if it does rain, it shouldn't be a all day rain, or it shouldn't rain the whole time. So couldn't really ask for anything better. So you can see behind me the trail markers. We've got 2 of them here. The blue 50 trail marker is for Cranberry Lake, and they've got these placed all throughout the trail. So far it's been really easy to follow. The trail's well defined, even with all the leaves on the ground. I did bring my GPS as well, my Garmin GPS, but not so much for navigation, more so just to track my progress. And there are a couple campsites that I have waypoints for in the GPS. So far, I think I'm three or 4 miles into the hike, and I haven't seen any campsites that are called out for yet. But I'm also not really looking since I just got started. As I said earlier, the Cranberry Lake Trail is 50 miles. It's a 50-mile loop. And today is Saturday, and I plan to finish up this hike on Monday. So in order to do that, I'm planning to break it down, get 20 miles in today, 20 tomorrow on Sunday, and then 10 miles out back to the trailhead on Monday. That's the plan, and I don't necessarily have to stick to that exactly, but that's what I'm going to shoot for. So this morning I got a slightly later start than I was hoping. I started a little after 8 or so, and just trying to put in as many miles as I can before lunch. The Cranberry Lake Trail is actually a collection of smaller trails that have all been interlinked to create a 50-mile loop. So there are some sections of road walking, like I'm on now, where you connect the different trails together. So here is my first view of Cranberry Lake. So I am just continuing to walk on the road. I'm not sure exactly how long the road walk is, but by the map it looks to be a couple miles. And I don't really mind it. It's nice to walk through the towns here. I've never been to this area, so yeah, it's just nice to see the area a little more besides just in the woods. and it's quick miles to knock out, so I make up for some lost time here. And I have reached the end of the road walk. I am at the Gilbert Tract trailhead. So we will come off here, off the road finally, and head back into the woods. My plan is to get in the first 10 miles of today's hike, and then I will take a break and eat some lunch, and then start hiking again. I'm right around 9 miles right now, so that will be pretty soon. So far the trail's been great. It's mostly just woods walking, kind of through some swampy areas, and then of course we walked the road there for a little while alongside Cranberry. It's been really quiet. I've only seen 2 other hikers, which is awesome. I thought that the trail would possibly be pretty crowded today, just because it's the best time of the year for hiking. But we are a couple weeks past peak foliage, so maybe I've come a little later than most people, which is good by me. Even though the trail is named Cranberry Lake, you actually don't spend very much time walking alongside the lake. The trail kind of meanders in and out, and sometimes you're actually pretty far away from the shoreline. So you only catch glimpses of Cranberry a few times during the hike. But being close to the lake means elevation is relatively stable the whole time, and it's just kind of 100 feet up, down, a couple hundred feet, and you don't actually get much elevation gain or lost over the course of the 50 miles. A little over 9 miles in, and that is the first campsite marker that I've seen. Looks like the campsite's just over there. It's a nice little spot. Got the campfire ring, and there is a stream right off to the left. So you've got water and everything. Some trash in the campfire, which is typical. The Cranberry Lake Trail has numerous designated campsites and a few lean-to shelters as well along the length of the trail. And there are also quite a few campsites along the shoreline of Cranberry Lake too, so there's no shortage of campsite options. My plan, I didn't really come up with any particular itinerary as far as where I was going to camp, but once I hit my mileage for the day or it starts to get dark, I'll just start looking and find a site. Tend to find it's easier just to do a trip that way and just kind of figure it out as you go, because you get these detailed plans, and then once you get out there, things never seem to go exactly how you had hoped. So just kind of wing it. Like I said, I've got a rough kind of mileage goal for each day, and that's about it. The main thing is just finish on Monday so that I can be back to work on Tuesday. I found a nice little spot right on the shore of Cranberry Lake where I'm going to stop and eat some lunch. Just trying to find a nice spot in the sun to stay warm. Oh yeah, this is a good spot. Feels good to get back out on a multi-day backpacking trip. I haven't done anything other than some overnight trips this year, so it's nice. Tomorrow will be a full 24 hours in the woods. Cranberry Lake is about 4 hours away from where I live, near the Catskills. So I came up last night after work and was able to stay at a motel in or around Tupper Lake, which is directly en route to Cranberry. So I didn't have to go out of the way or anything, but it was a cool little motel called the Faust Motel, and it's like little cabins, but it worked out really well. And that way I was able to get up and sleep in a little bit later today and just pop right over to the trailhead, opposed to getting up at like 3 or 4 and driving up here to get here early enough, which is typically what I do. Just get up early and go, but decided to try the motel route this time and it worked out good. Still pretty cold out, but once you get moving, it warms right up. There's a beaver swimming across the pond. I'm not sure if you can see him. It is starting to rain, so if it starts to come down any harder, I'm going to need to stop and kind of get all my gear put away in the backpack. I've got a pack liner in there. I just don't have everything in it at the moment, and I'll have to quickly kind of put everything in there and roll it up so it's watertight. But for the time being, I'm gonna just keep hiking and I hope that it passes over me. Well, the rain seems to have passed. It did pick up for a few minutes, but as soon as I got everything put away and the rain jacket on, it started letting up. So we'll see what happens now that my rain jacket's off again. So I am at Dog Pond, and there is a pretty decent campsite right here on the lake, or on the pond, that I would definitely think about staying at. But I've only went about less than 17 miles since I started, so I'd really like to get a couple more miles in. So I think I'm gonna keep going and just see what I can find. It's too bad because it is a nice spot, and I may regret my decision, but all I can do is try and see what else I can find. All right, I have made it to camp. Ended up hiking quite a ways, and I just went back to Cranberry Lake, and there's a campsite right on the edge here in one of the inlets. But got a really nice view of Cranberry from the campsite. So the sun is setting, as you can probably tell. So I'm gonna go ahead and get the tent set up and get everything situated while I got daylight, and then I will cook dinner and do that stuff, which isn't as difficult to do in the dark. This campsite came with a picnic table, so I've got somewhere to cook, which is great. So I'm gonna go ahead and get my water boiling for, I have just meat, or Mountain House beef stew. I typically go with the Mountain House just because it's available everywhere, even at Walmart. Spilled a little bit of that alcohol there. And we'll just let that come to a boil. Well, the sun set while I was eating my dinner, so I've just gotten into the tent, and I am just getting ready to call it a day. Ended up with about 23 miles for today, and so I'll get up early, get back on the trail, and try and do another 20 or so. I've got to take a look at the map tomorrow and kind of see where the campsites are for this next night, and figure out a plan. But we've got all day to figure that out tomorrow, so I will see you in the morning. Well, it took me a little while, but I am all packed up and getting ready to get back on the trail and start hiking again. Just enjoying the last look at Cranberry Lake before I leave this campsite. This campsite worked out really well. I slept pretty good. There was, however, a mouse that kept coming back to the tent all night. I saw him when I was sitting out at the campsite in the evening. He kept coming right up to me, so definitely a sign that quite a few people camp here during the summer, if he's so used to humans that he just comes up and asks for food. But aside from that, it was a pretty quiet night, and I slept well, and ready to do a bunch of miles today. So just taking a look at the map before I get started to go over today's plan. I started yesterday morning here at this parking lot, which is the Peavine Swamp Trail, and I came up here. This was that road section right there where it says Cranberry Lake. Hiked over the road, came all down through here. This was Dog Pond here where I found that nice campsite, but it was a little too early. So then in the evening yesterday I came all the way over back to Cranberry Lake, and I'm currently at Chair Rock Flow. This is the campsite that I stayed at tonight, or last night. And now I'm going to continue on hiking. It's going to leave Cranberry Lake again and come down through here. And looks like there are a bunch of campsites down here, and then up to Wanakina. So I don't know where I'm going to end up staying tonight, but that's the direction I'm headed. Up next, I've got 3 different ponds over the next 2 miles. I've come about 2.5 miles so far this morning. Been hiking for about an hour. I am coming up to Spectacle Pond, and the trail here is pretty cool. I'm hiking right alongside. The trail is right below a beaver dam. So just kind of hiking. The trail's right at the base of this dam. And as such, it's pretty swampy down here. Equipment wise, everything's worked out well so far. Pretty much just have my standard stuff with me. Last night the temperatures got somewhere around freezing because there was a light frost on everything in the tent this morning. But I was hot all night using the Z-Pac's 20-degree sleeping bag, or quilt. Using the Gatewood Cape shelter with the Mountain Laurel Designs Solo Internet, Neo Air X-Therm for a sleeping pad, and one of the X-Ped inflatable pillows. Like I said, pretty much all my standard stuff that I take on every trip. So I am now at Olmsted Pond, and the trail kind of loops around this whole pond pretty much. So I imagine I'll be hiking right alongside it for the next while. And there is a nice little campsite that the Cranberry Lake Trail passes right through. If I was to come back here and hike Cranberry Lake again, I would be trying to target Olmsted Pond as a place to camp out for the night. So if you're planning on coming here, definitely try to make it work so that you end up here for one night. Here is another very nice campsite at Olmsted. Plenty of room for a couple tents and right on the water. Here is one of the first shelters that I've seen on the trail. And this is still at Olmsted. So this would be a really nice spot to stay as well. Looks like a nice shelter. It's pretty much just your standard lean-to. And the lake is right out through these trees. I am due for another liter of water, so I'm going to go ahead and pick that up now while I'm crossing the stream. Water really hasn't been a problem on this trail, so I just wait till I have a liter empty and then I go ahead and fill it up at the next point. Usually I bring the Sawyer mini filter, But on this trip, since it was going to get down to freezing at night, I just brought tablets so as to not risk freezing my filter. So I just got smart water bottles, and then I've got a little bottle, or the bottom of an old bottle that I use to scoop the water out and fill it. And then for treatment, I've got these Katahdin Micro Pure tablets. Just get one of these open. And it's as simple as just dropping this little tablet into 1 liter of water and then giving it a good shake for a minute or so. And then you'll just let that treat for at least a half hour. I am coming up to Cowhorn Pond next, so I'm planning to stop and take a little break for a little bit and get some food. And I'm not sure exactly where I am at mileage wise, but I should be around 30 miles, which is perfect. I'll have 10 more miles after lunch. Today feels a little bit hillier, like there's more change in elevation than on day one, but it might just be because my legs are a little tired from yesterday's hiking. I'm not sure. There is another lean-to shelter at Cowhorn Pond, so I've just taken the side trail. It says it's less than a quarter mile off the Cranberry Lake trail, so I'm gonna head over there and take a break for lunch at the shelter. Same as yesterday, just the sausage and cheese on a tortilla for lunch. I am headed to High Falls next, so looks like it's just under 6 miles away. One piece of new gear that I do have this trip are these boots. These are the Salomon, I believe they're called the 4D, and I just got these within the last week. I used to hike in trail runners most of the time, but over the past couple of years I've noticed myself transitioning more towards a real like Gore-Tex boot for hiking. I mean, both trail runners and boots definitely have their upsides and downsides, but I'm enjoying hiking in the boots. I feel like today has been going really quickly. It is already almost 3 o'clock, and I should have a trail junction coming up in the next quarter mile or so. Hopefully, if there's some mileages listed, I can kind of come up with a plan for this evening, because I'm still not really sure where I'm planning to stop. Alright, so I just got to the junction with High Falls, and I've kind of figured out a plan based on the mileages that were listed on the signs and my map. I'm going to quickly hike over to High Falls because it says it is only 0.4 miles from where I just was, so I can get over there pretty quick and just check out the spot. And then I will head back to this junction and continue towards Wanakina. And there is supposed to be a spot called High Rock. I think it's about 4 miles further, and I'm going to continue to there and stay there for the night, I think. While I was standing at the trail junction, I was looking at my map trying to figure out what my plan was for this evening, and I was reading the map and I heard some thumping coming towards me, and I look up, there's a big rabbit running right at me, and he kind of swerved around me, and I thought that was weird that he didn't seem to notice me, or I caught him by surprise at the last second because I was just standing still looking at the map. So I thought that was weird, and I kept looking at my map, and I hear the same thing, although this time it's more like scuffling through the leaves coming towards me. And I look up, and I'm not sure exactly what it was. I think it might have been a fisher cat. He was pretty big size, and I caught him by surprise. He was coming after that rabbit, and he swerved off and into the woods. So neither of them, they were both in the chase there, and neither of them noticed me, but that was pretty cool to see. There are also a couple lean-to shelters and a camping area right there next to the falls as well. So that would be a good place to stay for a night for sure. But I am headed back to the Cranberry Lake 50 trail, and then I will continue hiking towards High Rock. Trail gets a little messy here. It's going to be interesting getting across this. But got to get across one way or another. Well, I made it to camp. It's a great spot on this bluff looking out over the river. The one thing is it's pretty windy up here, so I went ahead and set up the tent, and I'm just gonna hang out in here and cook dinner. I pitched the tent so that it's tight to the ground in the back, and the wind's coming from behind me, and it's noticeably warmer when I sit in the tent. So I'm just gonna kick back and relax and cook some Mountain House to start, I think, and then see where I'm at as far as daylight goes. It should be dark here in the next hour or so. I've got my water boiling on the stove back there. Should take 5 to 10 minutes or so. But I've got this big rock right at the front of my campsite here. When I walk out, I'll turn around. These awesome views of the river. It's a really nice spot. Just a little bit windy. So that is pretty much it for day 2. I did just over or around about 20 miles today, which puts me at basically 10 for tomorrow, maybe a little bit less than 10. It's hard to calculate exactly with all the side trails and stuff, But yeah, I'd say about 10 miles, which is right where I wanted to be. I've got the chili mac with beef, which is probably just about ready anytime. And then it'll probably be dark by the time I finish dinner, and I will get the tent all set up with the internet and sleeping bag and everything. It was a great second day. A lot more like small ponds and beaver dams and just kind of hiking through like bog today opposed to yesterday, which was more so around Cranberry Lake. Definitely has like a very Adirondacks feel, or what I've always imagined the Adirondacks to be like. Looking forward to the final 10 miles tomorrow. We'll hike, I think it's up to Wanakina, and then on to the SUNY Ranger School, and then back to the trailhead. Camp is all packed up, and I am getting ready for my last leg of the hike back to the trailhead. It is starting to rain right now, just as I'm getting going. So we will see if that starts to pick up or not. I know that the weather was calling for rain today, as of a couple days ago when I started the trip. The nice thing about rain on the last day is that you're not fighting to keep everything dry, and you're able to just kind of hike through it and get back to your vehicle. Back on the Cranberry Lake 50 trail. The side trail to High Rock, where I camped, is only 1/10 of a mile. Well, it's continuing to rain pretty lightly though, and I'm not even bothering with a rain jacket or anything because I'm working up a sweat as it is, so I would just sweat out any sort of rain protection. In the next hour or so, I should be reaching the town of Wanakina, and it's a town that's right on the trail. There's a couple of trailheads in that town for the Cranberry Lake 50, and it seems to be where most people choose to start their hike around Cranberry Lake. I chose to start mine at the Peavine Swamp trailhead, so I'm going to actually head through Wanakina and continue on for a couple more miles to the trailhead my truck's at. But I didn't really choose Peavine Swamp trailhead for any particular reason. Just when I was doing research, I saw you could start there, so I decided that's where I would start the trip. But it'll be interesting to walk through Wanakina and see those trailheads. Alright, so I have made it to the Wanakina Trail Register, and I'm just going to look at this map really quick. You can see it's got the UR here right next to Wanakina. I need to go up to the ESF Ranger School and then follow the Peavine Swamp Trail to that parking area up there is where I parked. So a few more miles it looks like. So you walk by these tennis courts over there in this playground, and then they've got the trailhead parking area for the Cranberry Lake 50. And now I'm just looking for where this trail continues from the parking area. And I see a Cranberry Lake 50 trail marker on this utility pole. and it's pointing across the road. Okay. We are headed to the Peavine Swamp Trail, so we want to go that way. So I am back on the Peavine Swamp Trail, which is a part of the Cranberry Lake 50. It is the trail that I started on, as I've mentioned. I just checked the GPS, and I'm right at 50 miles total for the trip so far. And it looks like, just guesstimating based on the GPS, I've got about 3 miles to go until I reach the trailhead. And it is just after 10 o'clock. So I'll finish up by noon, it looks like. I just passed a trail sign that said 1 mile to go until the parking lot, which is good timing because the wind's starting to pick up a little bit and the skies have gotten a lot darker, so I think it's going to start raining again. It did let up for the last couple of hours. I can hear Route 3, which is where I started that road that I walked on day one. I can hear it right off over to my left. We are back to where I started 2 days ago. This trail here is the Cranberry Lake 50, and that is where I just came from on the Cranberry Lake 50. And behind me is the trail back to the parking lot. So I'm gonna head out this last quarter of a mile or so, and that'll be it. That is it for the Cranberry Lake 50. I appreciate you all watching, and I'll see you in the next video.